Ladies,
I'm tired of the underdog narrative, and we're a really, really good team. We're here to make noise.
This is not the standard. The standard is the Super Bowl.
so, ladies, gentlemen, children of all ages, we now find ourselves like a man lost in what was a seemingly endless desert who crawls and crawls on burning sand and finally finds himself inches away from a stream with cool, pure water. We are finally all the way to the blessed land of Super Bowl. I am Bill Carroll of Nuts and Bolts Sports, and I have the great pleasure to be joined by, amongst others, really the heart and the soul, the strong back that lifted Nuts and Bolts up to this place, the one, the only Joe Cardoza. I'm also joined by my partner in crime and co-conspirator on Draft Central, Mr. Jeff Barnes. I also have the OG himself, G. Lopez, and ladies and gentlemen, particularly the ladies, we have Jake Ellenbogen. That's right, Jake Ellenbogen, by popular demand, is returned. This is going to be one for the ages. Wake up, Grandma, get the kids out of bed, and let's do this.
Oh, man. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. And holy hell, that intro, that got me pumped. Like, I'm ready for the game now.
That made me want to strap on some shoulder pads and get ready to go.
Yeah, I
speak for yourself. Those days are over for me.
Church. I've got one more kickoff coverage in me. It may be how I die, but I've got one left. Put me at L3, and I'll come down, and I will take someone's head off, maybe my own.
Oh, no, I'd be good just to be out there for the coin flip. I'm done. I don't want to get hit anymore. I'm too old. I'm too brittle.
I still got one more fade route in me. Just make sure it's high.
Yeah, I've given enough knees and fingers to the cause. I'm done.
I'll try, running that fade down the field that what's his face ran Skoranek, 2 weeks ago, and see if I can catch that.
Oh God.
Probably not, but I'd be interested.
It happens to the best of us.
He missed those from Ian Book too.
Right. We have finally made it. And I want to start with one of the things that always goes through my mind. I've seen a lot of Super Bowls. I'm old enough to remember when the Colts finally got theirs, of course, after being sort of pantsed by the Jets in Super Bowl III, which I'm not quite old to remember. I do remember when they got back and redeemed themselves on that last-second field goal by Jim O'Brien. So that's how old I am. But I want to make sure that we start thinking about, and of course it differs how old you are, but all of us have seen enough Super Bowls, I think, to sort of feel like what this Super Bowl feels like based on past Super Bowls that we've seen. So I'm going to start with the OG. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Lopez, the other Jorge Lopez. And I'm going to ask you, this particular Super Bowl, which one does it most remind you of from the past and why?
I think right now, of all the Super Bowls that I've seen, I get the Super Bowl 13 vibe between Pittsburgh and Dallas. I know these quarterbacks are a lot younger than Terry Bradshaw and Roger Staubach were at that time, but the offenses, the way they're both playing, reminds me of Pittsburgh and Dallas. And their defenses, I think, well, we'll get into it, I know later, but I think Cincinnati's defense is underrated and no one's really talking about them, but it just gives me that vibe. I see it being a very close game, a 4-point game like it was on Super Bowl 13. And for my money, it's even more exciting. It was more exciting even compared to the one the Rams actually won against Tennessee. I've always thought Super Bowl 13 was the most exciting one I've ever seen.
Okay. Well, once again, it's good to have someone else who has a sort of a sense of history. I too remember that Super Bowl quite clearly. And it was one of those Clash of the Titans kind of things, right? It really,
definitely.
to some extent, decided who got to call themselves the team of the decade. So it was a lot of hype for that era. Now, we live in the age where everything is overhyped. So by comparison, it wasn't that much hype. But for that era, it was hype.
And it lived up
I'm
to
going
it.
to now move to Jake Ellenbogen. Ask him the same question. Obviously, you haven't seen 50 Super Bowls like some of us, but you do have a pretty good sense of. I'm just saying, if you live long enough, you see things. But of the Super Bowls you've seen, which one do you most remind you of?
Well, I don't remember the exact name of like when it, but hold on a sec. I don't remember the exact name of the Super Bowl, right? I don't remember if it was like, 30 or whatever, but the Packers and Steelers Super Bowl, with you had, Aaron Rodgers going against Big Ben. I kind of feel like, the Bengals are kind of like that Packers team coming in. The Packers were 10-6. The Bengals are 10-7. The Rams are 12-4. The Steelers are 12-5. The Rams are 12-5. The Steelers were 12-4. And I feel like when you look at, those teams, they both had, some offensive firepower. It felt like, one team had the better defense, and that was the Steelers. But the Packers did end up winning that game. So hopefully it's not a precursor to that, being as I am a Rams fan, covering the Rams. But I do kind of see the similarities in that Super Bowl and the fact it was, a one-possession game. I feel like it's going to be a one-possession game in this one as well. So that's that's the one I tend to lean towards. I honestly think that you have, way better running backs, of course, in this one with Mixon and Akers as opposed to James Starks and Rashad Mendenhall. But, regardless of that, I do think that this is, probably the one I would compare it to.
Okay, that brings me now to my compatriot, Mr. Jeffrey Barnes. Mr. Barnes, thinking about the Super Bowls that you've seen, which one does this most remind you of those past Super Bowls?
Well, for me, this gives me the vibes of Super Bowl 19. I'm talking about Joe Montana versus Dan Marino. I'm talking about the young gun versus the quarterback that's been there before. Well, Stafford may not have been there before, but this Ram team has been there before. Right. So that's what this gives me, that veteran versus the young lion. Right. Two teams that are scoring points, that have the ability to score a lot of points, where everybody wants to see the quarterbacks dominate. We saw that with that Super Bowl 19. I think we're going to see it again this year.
Okay. And batting cleanup, the CEO, the chief cooking bottle washer, the eighth wonder of the world, Joe Cardozo.
I think if I have to reflect on a past Super Bowl, I'd say that the Super Bowl we're going to see this week is giving me vibes of that Pittsburgh Steelers Arizona Cardinals game. I mean, you think about Kurt Warner, Larry Fitzgerald, an older Edgerrin James, kind of just happy to be there vibes. But they gave the Pittsburgh Steelers a great fight. Pittsburgh or Ben Roethlisberger, that great defense when you had Palomalu, that awesome return we saw from James Harrison, 101-yard return for a touchdown. That was a really, really good Super Bowl. Ended with that Santonio Holmes toe drag swag times 1,000 catch for the game winner. I get that kind of vibe. Like Jeff had mentioned earlier, Rams having been there before, the feel-good story, quote unquote, the Cincinnati Bengals, but they want to make a point that they're just not happy to be there. They're the wins. That's the kind of vibe and the Super Bowl I think about when I compare it to what we're going to see on Sunday.
Yeah, I would love to see that level of like drama. If this game is like that, then well done. If you got that, then you've given us a very, don't threaten me with a good time. So I will stay with you, Mr. Cardozo. Tell me of the running backs in this game. Who do you think of the running backs will have the greatest impact on the game's outcome, and why did you choose that particular one?
I'm going to go with Joe Mixon, and the reason why is because of versatility, his ability to catch the ball at the backfield, run it outside or between the tackles. I think also, too, when we're going to talk about this a lot, that Rams front four is just ferocious. So while not being busy running for his life, Joe Burrow's going to need somebody to throw the ball off and dump it off to, and that's where he comes into play. Not just catching the ball and being tackled for loss, but making a couple of guys miss because he has some wiggle and getting some yards on plays that might have otherwise been a loss. So I'm going to say Joe Mixon.
Okay. And that brings you Mr. Jeffrey Barnes. Mr. Barnes, which running back will have the greatest impact and why?
I'm going to go with Mixon as well. And the reason being, he's the one that gets the lion's share of carries out of these two teams. He's the one that carries the biggest load, especially for the Bengals. If you think about the Rams, they're a split bunch. All right. So those guys are going to split the ball evenly. But so overall, yes, you have Akers. They are getting a couple of guys back to add to there with Akers. So I think Akers' load will be a little bit lessened. I think Mixon's going to carry it more. We talked about the guys who can come in for the Bengals when Mixon comes off the field. But overall, Mixon's going to have to do it all. He's going to have to block. He's going to have to catch the football. He's going to have to run between the tackles.
Okay. And that brings me to Jake Ellenbogen. Who do you see amongst the running backs having the greatest stamp on this game?
Well, I think it has to be Joe Mixon, and the reason for that is because, Darrell Henderson is coming back off the injured reserve list, and he is the best pass protector of the bunch I think you have there. And then I would say Sony Michel is the second best. So because of that, Cam Akers is the weakest blocker. It kind of puts the Rams in a difficult spot how much they can really use him. I think he's going to be utilized. I think you get 2 weeks off, and there's a chance now that Akers could be utilized a lot more. I think he'll go over his 54.5 prop or whatever it is right now. But I think with Mixon, you saw the way they kind of started things off against Kansas City, dumping it off to Mixon. That's what they're going to have to do. I mean, the best way to neutralize a pass rush as dominant as, this Rams pass rush can be is to get the ball out quickly and to get it out efficiently. And Joe Burrow is somebody that has the accuracy to make all the throws, but he doesn't need to throw 300 yards in this game. If they want to win, they're going to have to do some of the little things and neutralize the pass rush in a way where, all of a sudden now we're going to dump it off to Mixon here. We're going to make you tackle. The Rams have done a really nice job against the run. So I don't know how many carries Joe Mixon will have. And I know they do have Samaje Perine as well as Chris Evans, who I'm also looking at in this game, with the potential of even seeing Jamar Chase used in that jet sweep area. But, I definitely think that Mixon is the guy that, like, Jeff brought up, he's going to need to be in there on, pass blocking situations and, leaking out of the backfield and slip screens and things along that nature. And I think that's what's going to keep them in this game, should anything go wrong with the offensive line.
Got it. And I will this time, bringing it all up, tying it all together, I'll bring in Mr. Lopez. Which running back puts the biggest stamp on this game and why?
Yeah, we're all on the same consensus. I agree. I think Joe Mixon is going to have the bigger impact when you compare all the running backs, because the Rams are going to split the touches between Akers, Rochelle, and depending how much they actually plan on using Henderson. I mean, Mixon, you're going to see him coming out on swing routes, out in the flat, screen passes to try to offset that Rams pass rush. So he's going to have a lot of touches. The teams may have the same number of touches for the running backs, but Mixon's going to have more touches by himself compared to, Akers, Rochelle, and Henderson. So yeah, I really do believe Joe Mixon's going to have a huge impact on this game for Cincinnati's offense.
And isn't it ironic that during the draft process, Henderson was the one you worried about the most when it came to pass protection?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I figured he'd get it cleaned up. And I think in a way, when you're a 5'8" running back, it's almost just assumed, oh, he can't pass block.
Yeah.
But there's actually guys that can, and it's one of the things. Size is not a skill. So, I understand 6'1" Todd Gurley looks like, imposing and whatnot, but that doesn't necessarily make him the better pass blocker, which he arguably was. He was pretty good in pass pro, but you get my point.
Outside of Derrick Henry and Jim Brown, Adrian Peterson is probably in the top 5 to 10 most physically imposing looking running backs I've ever seen.
Agreed.
He was terrible in pass protection.
Yeah.
So you can't just go by that. It's not just about all the curls for the girls. I mean, at some point, it's about technique, leverage, and positioning. And Warwick Dunn, 177 pounds soaking wet with rocks in his pockets, was much better at pass protection than, the Adonis that was Adrian Peterson. So, yes, you're right. It's not always just about the size of the dog. Okay, let's move on because we have a lot to cover. I went a little nuts. Okay, so Sacks. I think, frankly, if someone's looking for a stat that I think will decide the outcome of the game, I think it might be sacks. Which team has more sacks? And I'll stick with you, Mr. Lopez. Which team has the most sacks, and who do you think leads that team in sacks?
I think the Rams are going to have more sacks than Cincinnati, and Cincinnati is going to get to Matt Stafford. They have, I think, an underrated pass rush, especially with Hendrickson. That's one of the matchups I'm really concerned about, Hendrickson going up against Andrew Whitworth. But the Rams with Von Miller, the great Aaron Donald, and Leonard Floyd on the other side, even great games, they're going to get pressure on Joe Burrow. And I'm going to say this, I don't think anyone's even bringing this up. I think Leonard Floyd's going to have more sacks than Von Miller and Aaron Donald. I think Leonard Floyd's going to have a huge game because Cincinnati's right offensive side of their line is very weak in pass protection, and I expect Leonard Floyd to have a field day come Sunday. I'm expecting him to get at least 2.5 sacks.
Okay, and in the sense of piling on to people who can't defend themselves anymore, but if you have Jake throw some more people on top of Joe Burrow. So the next question is for you, Mr. Ellenbogen. I don't know what your answer will be. I just have a suspicion. So I'll ask you.
Must be the background, dead giveaway.
Who do you think? Well, first of all, which team ends up with more sacks as a team, and then who will lead that team in sacks?
I think it's going to be relatively close because I don't think the Rams are going to get as many sacks as everyone's talking about. I think, maybe around the 3, I would say 3 mark, and maybe, the Bengals get 2. But I think he beat me to it. Leonard Floyd, he's going up against Isaiah Prince on the right side. I spent a lot of time looking at this offensive line. I got to point out and give credit where credit's due. Trey Hopkins has really turned himself around since week 10. So this is somebody that's playing at a higher level in the trenches. He didn't allow a pressure, in the last game against Kansas City. I don't know if that's, Chris Jones, for whatever reason, not playing as well in the playoffs. Yep. He just never really has and doesn't even have a sack to show for it in all of his playoff, games. Or it was Trey Hopkins. But either way, you got to give credit where credit's due. I think that right side, though, you look at the left, you have the veteran presence with Span. And, of course, you have Jonah Williams. But the right side, we don't even know who's going to play guard. It looks to me like it's going to be Hakeem Adeniji from Kansas. But if it is not, it's going to be Jackson Carman, who's also dealing with the back issue. Second-round pick that he came in second half of last game, and he had 6 pressures given up. It was the most of any offensive lineman on that line. So, he kind of came in because Adeniji was struggling and arguably struggled more. And then you look at right tackle, and I think a lot of the right guards their struggles have actually gone because of Isaiah Prince, who is, keep in mind, filling in for the injured Riley Reif, who they got from Minnesota. Riley Reif actually, I would argue, was the best offensive lineman this year for them. He gets hurt, and they've really had a hard time replacing him. So now insert Isaiah Prince. I love that matchup for Leonard Floyd. And I don't think people realize, I've been hearing a lot of, Bengals fans saying, yeah, just run Leonard Floyd's side. Stay away from Von Miller. The Rams brought him in to stop the run. So this guy is going to be around there. Plus, he's going up against Isaiah Prince. I think he's going to be all over the backfield, personally. I think he leads the team in sacks. If it's 1.5 or even just, he ties it with 1, he's going to do that.
Got it. And I just, once again, take it with a grain of salt or whatever. I think Adeniji eventually becomes pretty decent. And Carman...
I'm a Kansas fan. I love Adeniji. So I think you don't have to argue against me.
I do. I think he becomes something. I'm worried about the rest of the. Okay, moving on. So now, same question to you, Joe. Which team has the most sacks, and then who ends up leading that team in sacks?
I think you have to go with the Rams. I mean, like I said before, my opening statement, that front 4 is just vicious. And I've been saying it for a while now, almost a year and a half. I've watched a lot of football too, not quite 50 Super Bowls, but I've watched a lot. And I think that Aaron Donald's the best defensive lineman I've seen since Reggie White. I think he's going to lead the Rams in sacks. I'll say 3, maybe even 4. I just have visions of Joe Burrow doing what Russell Wilson's been doing the last 3 or 4 years, just running for his life every play. It's got to be, he has to get rid of that ball so quickly, because if they gave up 9 sacks to the Tennessee Titans and that front 7, what's going to happen when they go up against Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Floyd, the rest of those guys that the Rams have as well, even Eric Weddle coming up and coming from the secondary and applying pressure? I just think that Aaron Donald's going to have a field day on Sunday.
Yeah. For me, it's screens and draws, baby. We're up to screens and draws.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll finish up with you, Mr. Barnes. Which team ends up with the most sacks and who leads that team in sacks?
Well, I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in that because I believe that the Rams will have more sacks. However, I think the player with the most sacks is going to be on the opposite side. I'm going to take Sam Hubbard with 2.5 sacks. And I think Sam Hubbard is going to do a great job opposite Hendrickson, getting pressure on the outside. I think he's going to get home a couple of times against Stafford. And I think that's what's going to be the guy who has the most sacks in the game. Overall, I think team-wise, I think the Rams will have it.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, Jeff brings up a good point because you can get pressure on Stafford going through Havenstein. Sometimes he is a little weak on the right side for the Rams. That right tackle sometimes can be a question mark.
He's a good run blocker, but he's not the world's best pass protector. I think.
No, he's not.
And Cincinnati's pass rush is super underrated as well.
Yes. Oh, very underrated. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to give you guys a chance to slake your manly thirst or gather your thoughts, and we'll pay a couple of bills.
He gives me a lot of Allen Iverson vibes.
And think about how Harden, Westbrook, and KD have shook up the league.
We have a different kind of basketball up here. We call that a play on.
There is no trade market for Russell Westbrook. No one's interested in him.
He might be a great assistant, but it's like so many coaches in the NFL. Great coordinator, not so great as a head coach.
Okay. So that now brings us to a question that has long been on my mind. So total yards. We talked about which running back has the greatest impact, but impact can be measured a lot of different ways. Yards are nice, simple, quantitative. You just count them. So we're going to go back to Mixon versus Akers, and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Jeffrey Barnes. Which of those running backs ends up with the most total yards between rushing and receiving?
Oh, see my answer before in Joe Mixon. Like I said, more touches, more production. He's going to be catching the ball out of the backfield. He's going to be running the football, less splitting at time. I think it's going to lead to more production out of him overall. I think Akers is going to have some big carries. He may even pop a big run or two. But I think overall, when you look at the total combined yardage, they're going to rely on him because they're going to be trying to take those wide receivers away, take away those big plays. I think overall, it's going to come down to Joe Mixon on the ground, Joe Mixon catching the ball out of the backfield, taking advantage of matchups against those linebackers. I think Joe Mixon will be the most productive yardage-wise of the two backs.
Okay, that brings me to now Mr. Joe Cardoza. Same question to you.
Yeah, I think because he's going to have so many opportunities to have the ball in his hands, you got to go with Joe Mixon. I also, Cam Akers, I feel like there's been so many fumbles that weren't fumbles or fumbles that were fumbles. I salute him for the comeback. It's incredible that he's actually on the football field. Right. But I just think that Joe Mixon has a chance to be a really, really big factor in this game for so many different reasons. I mean, it's his time to shine.
Got it. Okay, question now to you, the other George Lopez. Which running back has the most total yards between receptions and rushing?
Well, if you combine receptions and rushing, yeah, I have to agree it's Joe Mixon. But I'm looking, if it's strictly just running the ball, I'm going Cam Akers. Cincinnati is not stopping the run. And I think this is why the Raiders lost. Josh Jacobs was averaging over 6 yards a carry against Cincinnati in that wild card game. Yeah. He only had 13 rushes. You know, Derek Carr threw 54 passes. That's one of the big reasons why the Raiders lost. Yep. Akers is going to bust one big. So I think if you look just rushing yards alone, I think Akers is going to go for close to 100 yards against Cincinnati's defense.
So do you want to rethink your total impact statement then from earlier? Because it sounds like you're saying that's the guy who's going to have the greatest impact.
That's a big impact, but I'm not going to change it because I think he can get those yardage on less carries. And I just think Mixon's going to be more heavily involved in Cincinnati's game plan. I think Akers is going to go for like 90 yards, but he's going to do it like on 16 carries. And Mixon's going to have at least 20 touches.
Yeah. The number in my head is 24. We'll see. Okay, and that brings me now to Jay Gallenbogen. Take us home on this particular topic.
I feel like it's so weird because I compared Joe Mixon and, you know, I compared Cam Akers to Joe Mixon coming out. I just felt like they both had kind of a similar skill set. Obviously, you know, he's 6'1" or whatever, and, you know, whatever. But here's the thing. The Bengals are giving up 5.7 yards per carry in the playoffs, and they have not been able to stop the run, you know, like what that was just brought up. with the Raiders. And I feel like with the Rams, I'm going to go with the more impact player, like the one that I'm going to stick with Mixon on that because I think he'll be in there and have to do more as far as, in pass pro and things along that nature. But Cam Akers, I think, will have more total yards because I think the Rams will control the end of the game and will likely be trying to run out the clock, as opposed to the fact that I think Burrow is going to be throwing a lot more. This team isn't going to be running as much towards the end of the game. I think 17 of the last 20 have come down to the wire in the final fourth quarter. The 17 in the last 20 Super Bowls. So I think that's what's going to happen. The Rams are going to try to basically run out the clock, and I think on the other side of things, Joe Burrow is going to be trying to throw this team back into it. And I think Joe Mixon will get those yards because I do think he'll be used in the receiving game. But keep in mind, Cam Akers has also been used in the receiving game, and he just got back. Now you give 2 weeks of preparation, and maybe Stafford actually hits him this time on that wheel route.
And it's also talk about the fact that in the playoffs, the Rams are giving up 54 yards rushing. Their defense is only giving up 54 yards a game in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Sometimes we end up with tendencies holding. Sometimes tendencies get broken. We'll see which happens. I'm going to stick with you, Jake, and ask the sort of follow-up addendum question. Total touchdowns between those two running backs. Who wins that battle?
I think I would give it to Mixon because Akers has yet to show me that he has a nose for the end zone the way former Rams starting running back Todd Gurley had. Even Gurley's worst year with the Rams, you could argue he still had double-digit touchdowns his last year. When I see this, I could see Sony Michel carrying the ball in there. I could see Stafford going with a QB sneak. It's happened, a little bit this playoff. And on top of it, I could see Henderson, who actually is not bad in short area yardage, despite the fact people look at him and assume he is. So I'm going to go with Mixon because I feel like I know what I'm getting. Mixon is going to get those goal line carries, and he is a good back on the goal line, whereas Akers has fumbled twice, including, that one game against Arizona last year, week 17, he fumbled right at the goal line, and then he fumbled, against Tampa Bay. I mean, it was freak, but he still fumbled right at the 1 yard line. So he has not shown me that he is that goal line back, at least yet. And I feel like Mixon, with obviously, more of the, experience, I would trust him more there. So those premium touches, I feel like are going to go more favoring Joe Mixon, whereas I feel like the Rams are honestly more likely to throw it there or just go with Sony Michel. So I'll go with Mixon for total touchdowns.
Okay. And I see you signaling to me. So go ahead, Mr. Lopez. Drop pearls of wisdom.
Yeah, I have to agree with Jake on that. When they get inside the 5 yard line, we're going to see a ton of Sony Michel in the Rams offense. People look at Cam Akers and they don't realize he runs angry. He runs physical. But yeah, I agree. He hasn't shown that he's a goal line back yet. I expect a lot of Sony Michel if the Rams got first and goal inside the 5. So that being said, yeah, we know what Mixon's going to do. Between the two, Mixon will have higher total number of touchdowns due to the fact he's going to get the ball inside the 5 yard line, where the Rams are going to go with Sony Michel or possibly even Darrell Henderson, or we're going to see a lot of rollouts by Matt Stafford looking for Cooper Kupp or even Blanton at the tight end position.
Yes. Okay. And keeping it moving, we're bringing it now to you, Mr. Cardoza. Which one of these running backs gets across the goal line the most?
Well, I'm going to break up the monotony. I feel like we're having the Joe Mixon fan club, but we're speaking facts. Everything people are saying is straight facts. And even though I think it will be Joe Mixon, just to break things up a little bit, I'm going to say Sonny Michel. I mean, this is a guy that also, too, brings that versatility that Mixon has as far as being able to run the ball, catch the ball out of the backfield, had some success with New England. So maybe this is coming out party. There's always that unsung name we don't think about in the Super Bowl that ends up doing a lot more than we thought they were going to do. So I'm going to go with Sonny Michel.
Got it. And drive the point home, park the car in the garage. Do it, Jeff.
Well, once again, I'm going to go out of the box. It's not as out of the box anymore because Joe definitely went there with Sony Michel. I'm going to say push. I don't think either one of these two backs sees the end zone. And the reason being, I think overall, I think it's going to be a different back that scores, whether it's Michel, whether it's Henderson, all right, that scores for the Rams. But overall, I think Joe Burrow's arm is going to account for more touchdowns than the running game will. So I think overall it's going to be when they get inside that 20-yard line, close to the 10, I think it's going to be Joe Burrow's arm that leads them to the end zone. And that with, of course, Chase with the tight ends, Wilcox and those guys. So I think overall his arm is going to account for the Bengal touchdowns. I don't think they're going to get him on the ground. If they do, it'll be a QB sneak. But I think overall, I think the more rushing touchdowns will come from the Rams, and it will be a back other than Akers.
Okay, I'll stick with you. Who has the most receptions? Could be a running back, tight end, wide receiver. I don't care what position they play. Who ends up with the most receptions in this Super Bowl, and why do you pick them?
I'm going low-hanging fruit on this because it just seems too obvious and slappy in the face. And, of course, it's Cooper Kupp. I mean, Cooper Kupp is going to get fed the ball. We know they're going to spread it around, but overall, I think it's going to be Cooper Kupp. I mean, he's just had an amazing season, almost 2,000 yards receiving, and he's continued it in the playoffs. So I think overall, it's going to be Cooper Kupp is going to get fed.
Okay, same question for you, Mr. Joseph Cardoza.
I'm all about good redemption stories. I really want to go Odell Beckham Jr., but I can't deny what Cooper Kupp's been doing this season. I mean, that guy, his in and out of his breaks so fast. It's like the wide receiver from Las Vegas. His name escapes you right now.
Renfro.
It's a bigger Hunter Renfro. And he also has that speed after the catch. And I mean, we've seen it for 18 weeks plus the playoffs. No one can stop this guy. Will Odell get his moments to shine in the Super Bowl? Sure, he will. But I think just like he did against Tampa Bay with that game, setting up that game-winning field goal catch, it's going to be Cooper Kupp.
Got it. Okay, Mr. Lopez, where do you come down? Who has the most catches?
I'm going to say Cooper Kupp only because Eli Apple opened his mouth. I read what he had, his quote. He's like, Cooper Kupp, who? He got nothing on me. I'm the Big Apple. I was like, you're running your mouth already instead of showing respect. I just have a feeling Cooper Kupp's going to shut him up all game, and Kupp's going to go for at least 12 receptions in the Super Bowl. He's going to have a field day. My initial reaction was going to be OBJ because I think he's going to have a hell of a game. But after reading what Eli Apple had to say, I just think they're going to shut him up, and Kupp's going to have a monster game.
Well, everyone cue your Iverson Lou step over memes to get ready. That now brings us to you, Jake. Put the cherry on top.
All right. Well, everyone went with Cooper Kupp, so I'm going to say OBJ. Look, his guy Drake is betting on him to go over his prop and spent like $1.5 million or something, money that I'll never see in my lifetime. But it's just no, for real, though. OBJ just came out when he was asked if he would take a pay cut to stay with the Rams. And he said yes with a smile on his face. This guy is more than happy to be in this, opportunity, this location. He's coming back to the Rams. And I feel like, last week we really saw somewhat of the old OBJ. What was it? 8 catches for 113 yards or something like that was very impressive to me. And even still, Cooper Kupp had more receptions in that game. But San Francisco has never figured out how to stop Cooper Kupp. They just don't go out of their way to stop him. And I feel like with Cincinnati, the way you saw Tyreek Hill play against that team, and all of a sudden Mike Hilton slides up on him, and was Tyreek Hill doing the same thing when Mike Hilton was on him? No, he was not. So I wonder if Mike Hilton can do something, and I do believe he is the best nickel corner in football. I wonder if he can do something to slow Cooper Kupp out of the slot, and I wonder if it's just a matter, keep in mind, of targets. And it's not that Matthew Stafford is only afraid, he's afraid to only go to Cooper Kupp. It's not like he's scared, he's got weapons everywhere. You could even see Van Jefferson take advantage of this matchup, who's finally healthy. He's been playing hurt. But OBJ to me makes a lot of sense because he can help you all over the place. He can work in the screen game, the bubble screens that McVay likes to run where fans are ripping their hair out. He can hit you over the top. He can hit you with the shallow cross, the quick slants, those out routes. I mean, he is so good, and he has the wherewithal to keep his feet in bounds where, if you need a third down and they're trying to double Cooper Kupp, you can go to OBJ. He's got, I would honestly say he has better hands than Kupp this season. Kupp has dropped a couple of those passes. I'm going to say it right now. I think OBJ and Kupp both score, but I think OBJ ends up with more catches because the Bengals are going to go all out to stop Kupp. and allow OBJ to do what he wants to do.
Boy,
You know,
think about-
and let's not discredit Cincinnati's receiver because they have a tremendous trio as well with Chase,
yeah.
Higgins, and Boyd. I mean, they are scary. So let's not
Speaking of
discredit
prop
what they're.
bets,
I think they're gonna have some
Speaking of
good
prop
numbers.
bets,
Yeah.
look at Boyd's over under for yards and targets. You may want to. I mean, I'm
Taking
not
it all
telling you
day.
what to do. It's not a betting show exactly, but if you like to invest in the outcome of football events, you may want to take a quick look at T. Higgins' numbers. Just saying.
Yeah.
Good point.
So let's pay a couple of bills and then we'll reconvene. Once again, kudos to our audio department. I could just play our promo audio and just enjoy it. When the show's over, I would just play the promo audio over and over again and make myself a drink. Okay, moving on. We've got a couple more things to crank on through. So I'm gonna hit you guys just a couple quick trivia questions. I'm always prompt. I sort of overdid it, then I cut back. So the first one is name the people who have won both as a head coach and as a player. And then for bonus points, who has won as a player, an assistant coach? Well, and there's once again two people, but have won as a player, an assistant coach, and a head coach.
Well, I know one of the answers fits both categories, and that's Tom Flores.
Forgot is one of them. Good. Who else? Who else has somebody?
Ditka.
I didn't even try to find the answer. I'm not gonna lie.
Ooh, I forgot
saw
Ditka
the
was an
question come
assistant with
across.
Dallas. Yeah,
I saw the
Yes,
question
Ditka
come
won-
across, but
Ditka
was like,
won
I'm
all
not
three.
participating.
Yep.
that's right.
And there's one other person, though he didn't win as an assistant, but Tony Dungy, though Dungy was injured, he was on the team. In fact, you made mention of that Super Bowl earlier.
Yeah, he was. He played in Super Bowl 13 for Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
wow, really?
Yeah. In fact, I believe his rookie year, Tony Dungy led the NFL in interceptions. Look it up.
Wow.
Despite the fact that he hadn't really paid defensive back very much, but he was a guy with, once again, coach brain. So, and he was a part-time player. I mean, nickels in those days weren't full-time players. He was a nickelback. And he still managed to lead the NFL as a part-time player in interception. So don't sleep on Tony
Flores
Dungy.
popped in because I knew he was the backup at Kansas City, and then he was assistant with John Madden, and then when we know what he did with the Raiders as a head coach.
Yep. So I always get excited about that. I have lots of I came up with a bunch of trivia questions. Some of them way more difficult. They realize, don't do that to people, Bill. Come on, let's keep it breezy. Okay, so back on the grind. I want you to think, right, and call your shot. There's going to be a play somewhere in here, right, that turns the tide of this game and takes the winner closer to the winner, takes the loser closer to the agony of defeat. I'll start with you, Jake. Pick the pivotal play, the play that takes the winner upwards and the loser downwards in this.
This is going to be good.
Oh, I can just hear Al Michaels saying it now. Joe Burrow deep down the field, he's looking for Chase, and it's picked off by Weddle, and Weddle takes it down the field and sets them up for the next drive in which they're going to go down and score. It's not the game-winning touchdown because I do think that'll be where they are pretty much in control at that point. But it'll be the touchdown everyone is, replaying the next day on, sports programming because it'll be the one that finally just they'll probably be replaying that pick because I really believe that Eric Weddle, this is it. This is it for Weddle. And I think this is it for Andrew Whitworth. And if Andrew Whitworth could do something like catch a touchdown, that would be great. But Weddle is in position. He, for the first time this year, and he's only been with the team for 5 weeks after retiring 2 years ago, and not making the playoffs, might I add, he is going to be wearing the green dot, and he is going to be starting. So he is going to be getting these guys in position. You guys remember Nick Scott? He's going to be the last guy. Anytime anyone asks you who picked off Tom Brady last, before he retired, it's Nick Scott, that trivia question. The reason he made that interception is because Eric Weddle made an adjustment, noticed something, reached over to Scott, told him to get in position, and he read it like a dream, and he picked it off. Weddle is so intelligent, and for me, I would not be surprised if this guy ends up winning the Super Bowl MVP. I really wouldn't. Nothing would shock me. We've seen that before. Malcolm Smith won Super Bowl MVP for Seattle. Am I saying 100% throw $100 down that Weddle wins Super Bowl MVP? No, I am not. I think it's going to be Stafford. But Weddle, I'm telling you right now, I can hear Al Michaels in my head, and it's picked off by Weddle. So remember I said that.
And then somebody hits it with the fear of the beard. Okay, so let's I guess we'll take it to you, Mr. Jeffrey Barnes. Call your shot. What's the pivotal play? The play that we're talking about, the one that begins to swing the pendulum, right? Away for one team and towards and upwards for the other.
All right. So ask me if you've heard this scenario before. Stafford drops back, looks to the sideline, throws deep to Cooper Kupp, catches it, and it sets the Rams up with field goal range to win the game. All right. And we're going to talk about it. This is going to be a game where the Bengals are not going to go away. They're going to take leads in this game, especially in the second half. And I think once again, it's going to come down to Stafford to Kupp to set up the game winner.
All right. I like it. Brings us now to the one, the only Joe Cardoza. What's that play that we're all talking about?
If I had it my way, the NFL should have asked me for some advice. We need a Jamar Chase, Jalen Ramsey cam, where it's just focused on that matchup the whole game. I think the pivotal play is going to be Ramsey jumping a route, pick six to the house to seal it. I think that Joe Burrow is going to go with his money man. Jamar's been his guy since their days together at LSU. When the game's in the line, you know who he's going to go to. I see him forcing a ball or maybe being a tad bit behind on a ball. Jalen Ramsey, the shutdown corner of his generation, makes the pivotal play to seal the deal for the Rams. So I think Jalen Ramsey is going to be the one that ends this thing for Cincinnati.
I'll take it a step further. I think Greg Gaines disrupts him as he's unloading what he thought would have been a touchdown deep shot, and it's slightly underthrown because he couldn't get everything behind it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not bad. Giving him the Tracy Porter moment. Not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's a good Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was.
For a half.
Right. So, George, put the baby to bed.
I have two possible scenarios, two of them. One is going to be, and both of them are going to be, momentum is starting to, you can see like the Rams starting to really take control of the game. One's going to be a strip sack by Von Miller. And the other one, fourth down, Johnny Hekker is back to punt. Gets a snap. It's a fake. Johnny Hekker throws complete first down Rams, and they go down, score, and that just gets the wheels going. Johnny Hecker's going to have a fake punt this game.
Oh, man.
I wrote that down, literally.
I love that stuff. That's my favorite thing in the world because I was mostly a special
we
teamer.
really haven't seen him do it this year. Look out for a fake punt.
Yeah,
if they're anywhere near the midfield, look for that fake punt.
Yeah, his career numbers are astounding. He's got I think his career passer rating is like 120 something or something. It's I know it's pretty good.
And somewhere Bones Fossil will be like, I taught that guy that.
Trick plays both teams are gonna run some kind of trick play. I can guarantee you that.
The one he did years ago against the Packers, he actually faced pressure and was able to roll out and throw across his body. I
remember that one. Yeah, that was fantastic.
I mean, that they don't teach you as a punter to do that. So
no, that's just pure natural athletic ability. That's what that is.
Sure.
Jake. That's what that is. Playmakers make plays, baby. So speaking of playmakers making plays, we've talked a little bit about quarterbacks, but I want to sort of marry together quarterbacks and coaches because we always do that. We always say, Brady and Belichick and, Starr and Lombardi and Landry and Staubach. So I want to know which quarterback and which head coach in this game do you think ends their career? Now, obviously with the quarterbacks, there's a significant difference in age, but with the coaches, they're both very young. They both have maybe a quarter century of coaching left in them because they started so young. God, that's amazing. I don't know what a thought that is. So combining the coaches and the quarterbacks, which of those pairings ends up with the most rings and why? And I'll start with you, Joe. So look, yeah, you're welcome. So start with the two pairings, right? So you're adding together, and this also counts if the even after this quarterback retires, but that coach keeps going, you could still add them together. So I'm going to make sure I put in that little codicil and addendum. So taking that coach, you think when he's said and done, however many years down the road, and the quarterback, add them together, and then take the other two. How many rings they get in there until they finally are done playing football or coaching football, and add them together. So which of these two pairs ends up with the most rings when it's all over? So I'm going to make sure that's totally understood.
Well, as a bitter Washington Commanders fan who has seen so many
lifelong Washington
who has
Commanders
seen
fan.
so many coaches leave and be successful elsewhere, guys tear their ACL in Washington and miraculously heal and are superstars elsewhere. I'm going to go Sean McVay. I mean, for him to be in the Super Bowl for the second time already, super young in age. I don't know how many more years Stafford has left in him. Maybe if they win this Super Bowl on Sunday, I say Matt Stafford probably has 3-4 more seasons left in him. So I say at the end of the day, it's going to be the Los Angeles Rams duo because I'm a big Sean McVay fan. I think he's one of the best bright minds in the NFL. And I think Matthew Stafford has been more than worth the trade and what they gave up to get him in LA. So I'm going to go as a Stafford-McVay combo.
Okay, got it. Do you want to double call your shot and give us a number?
Ooh. Good. Oh, man. That was not in the email, folks.
No.
I put that out. For those who are thinking,
that was all me. I apologize.
For those who are thinking, Joe's so unsure of himself. That wasn't in the email. I'm going to say, I'm going to go 5.
Okay. I like it. Go for it. I love it.
Safe number. He's got 2-3 more to go. I'll go 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Same question for you, Mr. Lopez. Total number, right? Quarterback and coach, and together and or independently. So if the coach keeps going, you can keep adding to the number. But which of these two pairings, when it's all said and done, when their careers are over, have the most of these to show?
Okay, well, first off, I was hoping we were going to do this show without having a certain name mentioned, and he's already been brought up twice, so that's already a gut punch. Because I know it's a big news story. He's the first guy to ever retire from the NFL. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe someone actually gets to do that. I had to get that out of me because I'm sick and tired of all the talk. But that being said, yeah, I agree with Joe. It's Sean McVay. I mean, the man is only 36 years old. I think he learned his lesson from his first trip to the Super Bowl. And he's gotten better as a coach. I think his in-game adjustments are starting to improve because that's always been my one big criticism of him. He doesn't really do that well with in-game adjustments. But as long as they keep the same formula as a whole organization, what they're doing, how they're bringing in players, they have a great scouting department, so they're finding the right type of players in the later rounds. Yep. He's going to continue to be successful as a coach of the Los Angeles Rams. And yeah, I see him getting, he's going to need both hands to count the number of rings he's going to be able to wear when it's all said and done.
Okay, so I've got to ask a follow-up question. Do you believe then that he will end up with more Super Bowl rings than any other coach in NFL history, at least to that point? Is that what you're saying?
Will he approach, or I think he'll get very close to Bill Belichick.
Okay.
I think he has. Will he surpass it? That's hard to say because the number that Belichick has is very impressive. If he could get to that number, I'd be extremely happy as a Ram fan. But I think he has a chance to approach it.
Got it.
Got to have a quarterback plan in LA though. To keep that bridge going, you've got to have a quarterback plan for sure.
I'm pretty sure that him and Les Snead are already looking down the road.
Yep.
Because they already know this. They already got a blueprint. Like, how much time do we have with Matt Stafford? Who can we get down the road? Because I don't see them drafting quarterbacks, in the future. They're going to look for those free agents or who they can trade for.
Right.
I think that works for McVay and Les Snead in this system.
Right. Well, it takes out some of the uncertainty, first of all, right?
True.
Yeah,
and speeds up the process. I mean, it's cool to find a guy who's 21, 20 him up, but that takes a while. If you're just trying to pile up 6-7 rings, you have time for all that. I can't turn you into a champion. I need you to come here as a champion. Okay, cool. Same question for you, fellow other bookend Rams fan, Jake Ellenbogen. Are you also believing that maybe the greatest coach of all time is now patrolling the sidelines for the Rams?
Potentially. He's ahead of Belichick right now. If you think about it, Belichick hasn't even started his career yet. He started at age 38 as a head coach. So Sean McVay already has a coaching tree. He's going up against one of the guys in his coaching tree in the Super Bowl. he has another coach that didn't make the playoffs because of a kneel down. He was literally a kneel down away from making the playoffs, timeout, whatever you want to say. Another one in LaFleur that, has constantly patrolled, over everybody in the NFC. I mean, they lose in the playoffs, but they've gotten that 1 seed. And then now we'll see what Kevin O'Connell can do. And I think, quite honestly, I think he's going to do more than Mike Zimmer did because I think he held back the Vikings. But here's the thing. Okay, Sean McVay is 36 years old. He'd be the youngest head coach to ever win a Super Bowl. And it was Mike Tomlin. So if he wins, he'd be the youngest coach ever. Bill Belichick has 6 rings. I think Sean McVay can get to 7. I'm not going to just put all my money on that and say he will get to 7, but I think he could. Now, an interesting thing here. You have a 34-year-old quarterback in Matthew Stafford, just turned 34, I believe. Matthew Stafford said something very interesting before the season started, saying, he basically said that he could see himself, or the hope is that he'd want to play for another 10 years. Now, keep in mind, he has been broken, beaten, scarred from his time with the Lions. And I swear to God, there's sometimes he gets hit now on the Rams where you're like, he shouldn't be getting up the way he is, So I don't think he's going to play another 10 years. But if he plays another 5 and say the Rams win this Super Bowl, I could very well see them winning 3 out of the next 5 years because no one wants to build the team the way the Rams build it. They have the most draft picks of anybody in the league right now with 34 on the roster. They're willing to go out and make the trades the other teams are not willing to make. And the way the NFL works is a lot of these teams over and over and over again repeat the same mistakes and make other teams better while they make their team weaker.
Hello, Washington. I'll say it. I'll say it, Jake. It's fine.
You might as well, man. You might as well. I cannot believe they let McVay go, but that's neither here nor there.
Thank you for doing that, Washington.
With the Bengals, I respect them and I'm glad for them. If this wasn't the Rams, I'd probably be rooting for them to win a Super Bowl. I think they're a very likable team and I love Joe Burrow, but they're kind of an example of what you can do. I mean, they were just picking in 2020 first overall. Now they're in the Super Bowl. But not every team's going to do that. And we've seen really poor organizations, and really poor organizations mean really good players go to those poor organizations. That's why Jalen Ramsey's a Ram, because they took advantage of how poor the Jacksonville Jaguars were, despite the fact they were a few plays away from being in a Super Bowl. They went all the way from that, and they fell hard to rock bottom. Rams were able to pick him up. They were able to pick up Dante Fowler in the first Super Bowl. They were able to go out and get these guys, Matthew Stafford. This is the thing. This is their formula, and they have the coaching staff where they can continue to develop these guys. I've heard super team mentioned over and over and over again. Quite honestly, I'm tired of it. They lead the league in draft picks. You could say stars and scrubs all you want, but guess who's starting at safety? A guy that retired 2 years ago and got off his couch 6 weeks ago, and he's going to be calling the defense. The other guy next to him is his 7th rounder from Penn State that barely played defense and was a special teamer at Penn State, Nick Scott. And oh, by the way, who's starting at tight end for this high-powered, illustrious offense that is just way too stacked to lose? Kendall Blanton. And I love the guy, but that is what we're dealing with. And this is why I think that he has the connection with the front office. He's got the coaching staff. Sean McVay will keep winning, and if Stafford's there, he'll keep winning. I think they win 3 of the next 5 as long as they win this Super Bowl.
Okay.
I think that's very legit. Very legit.
Okay. And Jeffrey Barnes, if you would be so kind as to put the whipped cream on this banana split.
Man, oh man, you have eloquent tongue there, Bill. Eloquent tongue. Since we're talking about these pairings, all right, let me start with the Bengals side. All right, so I think this is their best shot with this pairing. I think if they're going to strike while the iron's hot, I think this is it, because I don't think this pairing gets back to this point again.
Ooh,
I think if Joe Burrow gets back to the Super Bowl, the next time it'll be with a different head coach. I think the road will be tougher for them next year. When you talk about it, like I said, that division will be tougher when you have a reloaded Ravens team coming back at them. So I think it's going to be a different road for them next year to get back to this point. I don't think it happens. And I think the next time he comes back, I think it'll be with a different head coach. Now, as far as the other pairing, I think they pull it off this time, but I think once again, I think the next time Sean McVay wins it, I think it's with a new quarterback. I think at some point, I think one of the problems is, and we talked about it, there's only been one repeat champion in the past 20 years. And we all know who that is. And we won't.
Please don't say it. Please don't say it. I'm begging you, don't say it.
Thanks for watching, folks. We'll catch you next time.
We won't say who it is. All right?
Thank you.
But I'm just saying, there's only been one repeat champion for a reason. The salary cap does what it does for a reason. There's only one team that buck the trend of the salary cap. And unfortunately, it does pick your bones. When you're the champion, everybody's going to come in there for your guys. Okay, so I think it does rob you of some key players and stop you from repeating. And I think that's what's going to happen. The Rams are not going anywhere. I just don't think they'll be back in this iteration when they get back to the big game. I think it'll be a new quarterback under center. I think overall, Matt Stafford's going to play another 4 or 5 years. I think they're going to get close. I just don't think they're going to get back with Stafford. I think at the end of the day, when the time that they come back and he comes back for that second Super Bowl win, it's going to be another quarterback. It's just, I think the salary cap is going to do what it's designed to do. And it's done it enough times. This unfortunate, we've had that one franchise that's ruined a lot of people's days for the past 20 years.
Years.
Been able to,
Jeff, years.
Yeah, you're right. The past 20 years has ruined a lot of people's days, and because they thought it was over every time they unloaded talent, and they seem to find another set of talent to reload it and come back. So nobody else has seemed to figure out that equation. So I think that's, unfortunately, the owners are patting themselves on the back for the salary cap, because not only has it made them richer, but it's given them what they wanted, which is the parity.
You know, Jeff, I'm going to say this, and I don't mind saying Bill Belichick, because I think he's a hell of a coach. they with his system, and this is what made him, I still think Lombardi's the greatest coach of all time, but Belichick is right under him. He didn't need superstars. The one year he had, quote unquote, the super team, they lost in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He gets the right players to fit Belichick's system. This is the way I do it. I don't need the big star. I need the guy that can grind. And that's when he's successful. The Rams, it's the same thing. Yeah, like you say, I'm tired of the word super team. He's gotten the right mix of players, McVay and Les Snead, but they also know how to manipulate that salary cap. That's 100%. What makes them successful. They can manipulate the salary cap. They can mix and match. And I think the biggest thing that no one really talks about is they have one of the best scouting departments in the NFL. They know how to find the right college players. They can get them at a smaller school, because we don't need the guy from Notre Dame. We can get the guy that went to, Townsend State or whatever, as long as he fits the system. In a way, it's like a compliment to what Belichick does.
Yeah.
Sean McVay's a young Bill Belichick. Sure. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is why I think that they're going to stick around in the salary cap era. I don't think that you can create a super team, but Les Snead is finally able to have somewhat of a stranglehold on the actual roster. When he was with Jeff Fisher ran that roster. Okay. That was not Les Snead. Okay. Les Snead did not have control of that roster. That's why he's still there. They knew this. That's why Sean McVay kept him and didn't go out and get his own guy. He was cool with Les Snead. They work really well in tandem, and shout out to Tony Pastors, who creates these contracts that no other team in the league does. They do a really nice job of manipulating the cap. It's why everyone's talking about when Matthew Stafford gets his contract extension, this is going to open up. The reason they're saying that is because Leonard Floyd's getting paid, $20 million a year? But he's not actually, because they've done ways, where they're not hitting, they're not getting a cap hit of $20 million per year. I think it was like 6 or 7 or 8 this year. So this is what I'm talking about. And this is why they have so many guys in charge. And you're talking about the potential of them winning a Super Bowl in the year after they just had the number 1 defense, in the year after they just lost their third in command and very well respected in Brad Holmes. That tells me they're going to be around no matter what.
Yeah, their player development is outstanding. Like, if there's 2 things I would take away from Los Angeles Rams, I was another NFL franchise, is how do they control the salary cap and the contracts they do and their player development. You talked about Blanton. Who knew about this kid before last weekend?
He was a blocking tight end in college. I knew about him, but
unless you eat, sleep, and drink college football and really follow the draft, you didn't know who he was at all. And when he came in, they didn't miss a beat. Kid's fast. He's athletic. That's player development. That's a guy that knows, okay, the starter's out. I'm the next man up. And it's not a problem.
Actually, he was the next man up. He was the next man after the next man.
Exactly. Player development, which is a dying art. That's a dying art in all of sports, really.
Reggie Scott also deserves a ton of credit from the training staff. I just got to throw it out there. You know, I saw someone say, well, the Rams basically, they trade for stars and then just hope they don't get injured. That's basically, and I'm like, that's not the case. And even if it was, it doesn't matter because Reggie Scott's done a damn good job getting those guys healthy. It's why Cam Akers is back 6 months after tearing his Achilles.
Yeah, I was going to say the proof is right there.
That's insanity. Well, great stuff. Before our final question, and then predictions and getting the heck out of here, we're going to pay some bills.
This commercial is brought to you by TrueBrain. Say hello to TrueBrain. We're not magicians. We're not going to turn you into a rocket scientist, unless you're already a rocket scientist. We're not big pharma, and our products are custom made to boost mental output. We empower people to do their best thinking. Okay. So we've had some fantastic stuff. You guys really, I can't believe you guys do this for free. So we've talked a little bit about the coaches. I want to know which coach, you can and tell us why, will have the greatest direct effect on the outcome of the game. So somebody mentioned earlier, a fake punt that would help turn the tide of the game. That's definitely a coach having a direct effect on the outcome of a game. That you can't have as a special teams coach, that's your chance to say, we're not playing this game scared, right? Onside kicks, right? Sean Payton and his group basically changed the direction of a football game by saying, we're going to onside kick to start this part of the game. Okay, so I'll start with you, Jeff. Who's the coach that you think really goes ahead and swings his sword and changes something important in the outcome of this game?
I think it's going to be Zach Taylor. And I think it's because he's going to come around and he's going to give you that big fourth down that he shouldn't go for. And it's going to give the Rams excellent field position. It's going to be a crucial point of this game. I think what you're going to look at is a guy who's got to outduel McVay. We're not looking at this game saying, who's the better coach? Everybody says Sean McVay's the better coach, and he's along for the ride because of the quarterback that got him to this point. So he's got to prove himself. He's got to prove himself to the guy that got him the job. All right. So I think at some point that comes into play. Sometimes as a head coach, ego comes into play. Whether you don't like the guy across from you say, I got to show him up at some point or whatever it is. Trust me, I've been there. All right? I've been there. When you have that coach on the other side, you got to show him up for a good reason. All right. So overall, I think that's going to be the case. It's going to be a crucial fourth down situation where he could play it conservative. He could play it aggressive. He's going to play it aggressive, and it may end up costing him.
Okay. Same question for you, Joe.
Oh, I think it's Sean McVay. This is a revenge game. The 13-3 loss against New England, even though it was fantastic. He made the Super Bowl. There was already whispers of, the boy genius. Did we give him too much too soon? Is he really as good as we thought he was? I think he's heard all the whispers about that. He's been waiting for this chance to get back on the big stage. I'm sure he's probably watched that. His memory is fantastic. So I'm sure he's probably watched that Super Bowl or has it memorized already and knows what adjustments he should have made in that game. He's not going to make the same mistakes twice. I think he comes out swinging to the final whistle with this one.
Okay, yeah, he's one of those. And, of course, when you deal with a lot of football people, they can tell you, like, play sequences. I called such and such. They ran such and such. And, it's basically freaky to watch people walk through sometimes a whole couple of series that took place in a game. And it's like, I can't believe. But once again, if you live in the bubble, that's what I call it, the bubble. If you live in the bubble, you eat, sleep, and breathe it. You may not know, what's in fashion, what the top songs are on the radio. You may not know what TikTok is, but you definitely will know why it is you may have lost the Super Bowl because you will have replayed it over and over and over again in your mind.
Same question for you, George. Which one of these coaches will have the greatest impact on the outcome of the game, and why? What will they do?
I'm going to go with Raheem Morris. I think he's gonna show Cincinnati something that they're not expecting. He changed up his game plan big time against San Francisco. He committed to stopping the run. He went a lot of single high safety, which he doesn't do.
Yep.
And they were going. Their whole plan was, we're going to stop that running game. We're going to make Jimmy G beat us, and we don't think he can do it. So I'm expecting him to throw in something that Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, they have not seen all year. It's going to catch them off guard, and it's gonna be a huge momentum boost for the Rams. So look for Raheem Morris to do something big with the defensive side for the Rams.
Okay, now you get us there, Jake.
Yeah, so we had McVay, we had Raheem Morris, we had Zach Taylor. It's hard. I wanted to pick McVay, but I'm going to go with Kevin O'Connell because he's the only one that's coaching his last game where he is right now. He's going to be the Minnesota Vikings head coach, and Kevin O'Connell is not the offensive coordinator by like a traditional standpoint where he's going to be calling the plays. No, he's somebody that really has a lot to do with the script. And so the first 15 plays and really, developing the first 15 plays and actually calling the first 15 plays, from what I was told, is actually he does have a lot to do with the opening game script. Guys, we've seen Super Bowls, good things, bad things, it snowballs. Some things that are good, they snowball. I mean, we've seen returns for kickoffs, for touchdowns. We've seen, a snap go over Peyton Manning's head and completely take them out of the game and just have the snowball effect. If the Rams get off to a good start, they have a really good chance of winning, just like anybody. And to me, for that reason, I like Kevin O'Connell because I think, his pressure is basically this is his last game with the Rams. He's already got this head coaching job, wants to win a ring before he goes over as a head coach for the Vikings with, by the way, they have plenty of talent, but he is going to be in charge of the script, the game script. And so it's going to be up to him. And I think, the Bengals are very much going to be expecting it to have to do a lot with Cooper Kupp, but who knows? Maybe those first 15 plays, they're all in the same drive because they've decided to run the ball and just, control the clock and really try to tire out the defense early on in the game. Who knows? But I think it's really going to be Kevin O'Connell.
Okay. And I'll ask the same question. So if you can give us an idea, Mr. Barnes, of who is it that you walk off thinking, man, I can't believe he did that? Or you talked about the fourth down that he shouldn't go for, right? So I guess I'll ask you for outcome, right? The game itself. And if you want to pick an MVP, if you're feeling froggy, go ahead and jump at the MVP as well.
I'm going to go with my earlier prediction. I'm going to go with last minute score, 31 to 30, 31-30.
Wow.
Rams over the Bengals. And at the end of the day, it's going to go to Stafford. There's a quarterback always seems to come out on top when he makes those big throws at the end. So it's going to be Matthew Stafford getting his Super Bowl, getting his MVP in the Super Bowl in the same year, 31-30 Rams.
Okay. So Jeff's calling for an instant classic. Your lips to God's ears, Jeff. Your lips. I'm going to come to you, Joe. Tell me, who is it you, obviously not only a winner, but yeah, give us a score. And if you're feeling like picking an MVP, I'll take that too.
Well, for winner, I'm going to go Los Angeles. I think it's going to be 28-17 Rams. And as far as an MVP, I want it to be Kupp, but like Jeff said, unless you're an unknown defensive back, the Super Bowl MVP tends to always go to quarterbacks lately. So I say the storybook ending for Matthew Stafford continues. You're traded from the Dolstroms and the hell, which is Detroit, to La La Land. You made the Super Bowl, and the first time that you make the Super Bowl, oh yeah, you win it, and you win MVP. So I'm going to take the Rams in this one. I'm going to say Matthew Stafford is the most valuable player.
Okay. So Big Daddy OG Lopez, give us one. And if you have an MVP,
I have it as a close game, and to be honest, my nerves can't take any more of these close games in the playoffs.
I'm with you there, man. I'm
Yeah,
with you there.
that Tampa Bay game, the 49er game, my nerves are shot. I'm surprised I haven't been drinking a lot of alcohol during these games. I'm just a nervous wreck watching them. But that being said, I have it 28-24 Rams. And I agree because I do remember Edelman getting the MVP against the Rams when they beat them 13-3 a couple years ago. He had a tremendous game, and I could see Cooper Kupp having a similar type of game. But that being said, Rams pull it out 28-24, and I do think Matt Stafford's going to walk away with the hard work.
Yeah. And really, I mean, let's think about it. What is Julian Edelman but a poor man's version of Cooper Kupp? Yeah, I said it. Okay, so if there's anything that I know for sure, one, that we've got like amazing talent. I love this. This is amazing. I'm sort of sad it has to come to an end. But we will do this again, right? So I'm going to jump.
Hold on, Bill. We didn't get Jake's prediction.
Oh, we sure didn't.
Yeah, I want to hear what Jake's got to say. Yeah,
you're right.
Disrespect.
Okay.
No, it's all good.
Sorry about that. No. Okay, no. Let's do it. Let's have it for real. Jake, the balance of the show from this point forward is all you.
Well, they're gonna have torches and pitchforks over, the downtown Rams listeners if I go with the Bengals here. But regardless, I'm gonna go with the Rams. I think that they've been the best team all year. I had them winning the Super Bowl as soon as they picked up Matthew Stafford in January of last year. There's audio evidence and video evidence to prove it. I'm not saying that just to say it, but this game to me is going to be relatively close. I think the Rams will control the game. And feel like they are truly winning it. But I think the Rams just, regardless if they figure it out in this game or not, they just haven't been able to put teams away. Just because they hook up with Cooper Kupp on the deep play, set up the Matt Gay field goal. That should have been a blowout of Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. They gifted 4 turnovers. Really the only game that they truly put anybody away recently was the Cardinals game, the 34-11 game. And I don't think we're going to see anything like that because I think the Bengals are just a lot better than Arizona. And here's the thing. Okay. I think it's going to be 30-20. And I think down, late in the game, I think Burrow's going to bring them back. I could see them even getting an onside kick. And all of a sudden it's 30-27. And George and I are literally about to have a heart attack. But this is where, Burrow, he gets a little bit too carried away, doesn't really buy into the whole, let's just get in a field goal range, tie it up and go to overtime. He sees his buddy Jamar Chase deep down the field. And like I said, just to kind of wrap it up, tie it up into a bow, Al Michaels is on the call. It's deep to Chase, and it's picked off by Weddle. I could totally see that. So I'm going to say 30-27. Anybody who thinks this is the worst Super Bowl ever, which I've actually seen, believe it or not, go watch last year. Last year was god-awful. Patrick Mahomes was only entertaining because of what he had to do to try to get out of harm's way and throw the football. That's not fun. The offensive line was full of second and third stringers. Enjoy this Super Bowl. It's not going to be very defensive. The 13-3 one. And I think people are way too much hating on the Rams because the last time they were in the Super Bowl, they remember they were bored to death. Besides the fact, I actually like defense. So I didn't hate that Super Bowl either, but I know everyone likes fireworks. I know Chris Jordan, the last time, we were on this show, he was like fireworks. I think you're going to get that, but I also think you'll get some good defense as well. It'll be balanced, but I have 30-27. Rams hold up that Lombardi trophy. Stafford is Super Bowl MVP. And I think they go to the Super Bowl next year against the Denver Broncos, against Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams.
Okay, hold on.
Drop that kind of bomb.
Thank you
like
for
that.
dropping the time travel.
Hold on, Jake. Boring game. Do people not remember Super Bowl 5-16, that turnover fest between the Colts and the Cowboys? And answer me this: the year the Giants knocked off New England's undefeated season, outside of that tremendous passing catch with Eli Manning and Plexico Burris' touchdown to put him ahead, can anybody else remember anything about that game?
I do.
I fell asleep. I woke up in time to watch that part. Actually,
I remember what should have canceled the helmet catch, which was an Asante Samuel interception that he dropped wide open on a sideline that would have ended the game. There would have been no helmet catch to Tyree. There would have been no Plaxico Burress touchdown in the end zone. It would have been Asante Samuel sealing off the perfect season for the New England Patriots, but he did not do it.
And I've heard people say that that Seattle blowout against Denver was a boring game because it was so lopsided.
Yeah, I mean
I didn't find it boring.
Yeah,
that was a Super Bowl. I thought
I enjoyed it. I'm a huge Pete Carroll guy, even though it's an NFC West team that won it, not the Rams. But I'm a huge Pete Carroll guy coming from USC.
I was for some hotter weather, but that was a good Super Bowl.
That was the equivalent to me of George Foreman beating the heck out of Joe Frazier, right? Everybody expected Frazier to win that fight, and George Foreman knocked him around the ring. Well, that's exactly what happened to the Denver Broncos. Everybody expected Denver to go into that game and win, and they got knocked around all game long.
Yeah, that was a tremendous beatdown.
Indeed.
I hadn't seen a beatdown like that since Montana put it to Denver's #1 defense in Super Bowl 24.
Yes.
Oh man, like 55-10, something like that. Yeah.
Yes, 55-10. Still, to my mind, the most dominant. Even though
that has been the most dominant quarterback postseason ever.
Yep.
If you saw Montana stat, those
he's
3
talking
games
about altogether. Now
all 3 games,
Sims,
70% completion
28.
percentage, 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. His team scored 41 points against Minnesota, 30 against our Rams, and put up 55 against the #1 ranked.
I'm going to have to take a look at Mark Rippon's stats from the then called Redskins won the Super Bowl.
Like when they beat the Rams in the NFC Championship game, Montana threw for less than 270 yards, and he put up 30 points.
Right.
He didn't. And I get real animated about this, about the quote unquote the GOAT. If they're just talking about, and I'm going to hate myself for saying his name, Brady's rings. You're only talking about the Super Bowl era. Let's talk about, if you want to talk about based on championships, how many did Otto Graham win when he was
Thank you. And throw in a basketball.
Otto Graham, I believe, won 10 championships and pretty much played in a championship every year he's with Cleveland. So if you want to count championships,
and
you
one
better
with
include
the
Otto
Rochester Royals, right?
Exactly. So all you Brady lovers, get off the stick. Let's bring an Otto Graham if you want to just talk championships. Because the NFL has been around for 100 years and there's only been 56 Super Bowls after Sunday. So we can't call this man the greatest of all time. Best of his era, I will give him that.
Or you could even count Norm Van Brocklein's.
Norm Van Brocklin, exactly.
Yeah.
But
Jake and I in complete silence right now.
For my money, the greatest quarterback in the Super Bowl era, again, for my money, my opinion, is Joe Montana. I'm not looking at rings. It just, if I had one quarterback to pick to take the team down 90 yards to win a Super Bowl, I would pick Montana over Brady. It would be close, but I would pick Montana. But again,
I can kind of see that. I saw my share of Joe Montana growing up. I could agree with that.
Oh yeah, same here. I mean, I
think
grew up
that's
watching
far-fetched
Killer
at all.
Rams.
Yeah,
My first-
But
my
if you
first-
Brady fans want to
yeah.
talk championships, you better include Otto Graham in your argument. Otherwise, shut it.
I'm gonna say this, and I might get hate for it. I don't care. It's just the same thing with Jordan fans. How it's rings. But I mean, Bill Russell has 11, and I don't think he was a better center than Wilt at the time, and I don't think it was close.
And
It
you know
really
what?
wasn't
And, if we
just
want to go NBA, Kareem should be included. I mean, he's the all-time scoring leader, and he's got the same number of rings and MVPs as Jordan.
Yeah.
But I know we're getting off topic with that one. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I get riled up when that
I see
discussion
that,
gets brought up.
and I love it. I love it. I'm about to bring you on for something else where you just go nuts for a while. It just feels like
George, you and I are on the same page. Everything you were saying about Brady, I'm sitting there like, yes. Like, you know, it's just, I just love that the Rams retired him, and I don't care what anyone says about me saying it like that. That's the thing.
Oh no, I love it too. Like he, you know, like I said, who's got the last pick on him? Nick Scott. Thank you. He's going to become one of my favorite Rams just because of that.
The last sack on him was Leonard Floyd.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm going to come back to you, Jake, because one, making up for it, but two, tell people where they can find your work and follow you, because you're gaining fans by the minute, and you should be.
Well, I really appreciate it. I appreciate Nuts and Bolts Sports for having me on like 5 shows in a row weekly. This has been so much fun. You can follow me at JK Bogan. I have a YouTube channel. It's called the 85% LA Rams channel, because basically 85% is the LA Rams, and I talk about other stuff, whether it be other sports, other entertainment, Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star Wars, maybe even some horror films right over there.
Hey.
So yeah, that's where that comes from. So you can find all that stuff on my YouTube channel. I'm also the CEO of Downtown Rams. So we have a podcast, we have a website, downtownrams.com. If you are a Rams fan, you should be over there and checking that out. We'll be covering the NFL draft as well. We got about 20 plus interviews already set up for prospects. So we're going right into, once the Super Bowl's over, we're going to be interviewing a ton of prospects as well. Again, can't thank you guys enough for having me, but yeah, you guys can check me out over there.
Excellent. And a perfect natural segue, of course, is to you, George. Tell people what you're up to and where they can find you.
Well, you can see my my Twitter handle on screen. It's the other G Lopez. This Sunday, I will be with Nuts and Bolts Sports again, doing the Full Monty Sports Show as we do the Super Bowl preview as well. I've been kind of not able to type, so that's why you haven't seen anything regarding the Super Bowl yet. But I will have a post-game article up on Nuts and Bolts Sports breaking down what we saw in the Super Bowl. So that will be coming out most likely Monday, unless I'm at the victory parade. But you definitely be getting something from me soon. So like I said, look out for the Full Monty Sports Show, 11 a.m. Eastern this Sunday, and we'll be talking about the Bengal Rams Super Bowl.
Okay. And no show, no moment of my life would be complete without Jeff Barnes telling people about what he's up to and where they can find what he's up to.
Well, you could find me is where you could find Bill Carroll. That's on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central for MBS Draft Central. We are in full swing. Weekly episodes. We start our position series this week with our quarterbacks and inside linebackers. We expect prospects to be coming on, and mocks are going to hold off. We don't like to throw the mocks out early, so you'll get those in March. But overall, we're going to be bringing out the prospects. We're going to be bringing out the info, and it's going to be nothing but draft stuff flying at you. You see the draft board is starting to get constructed back there. So guess what? It is draft season, and we are loving it.
And, of course, we have to have the paterfamilias. We have to have the man who has built all of this with his own hands, Joe Cardozo. Tell people where they can find more exciting stuff from NBS.
Well, obviously, you can follow us on our social channels. Every platform you can think of, just search at Nuts and Bolts SP. You can go to our website, nutsandboltsports.com. 4 to 5 articles dropping daily. I mean, the content's been fast and furious, quality content. We don't just throw stuff up there just for the sake of throwing stuff up there. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Cardozo. It's spelled down there, at Joe Cardozo 301. And like you said, it's a lot of moving parts, man. We got the NFL draft coming up, March Madness. I mean, if it's happening in sports, there's a 99% chance that we're covering it, and there's probably a 90% chance we're in the building somehow, whether it's as media, whether it's as fans. I'm flying out to Cleveland on Thursday for NBA All-Star Weekend, so I'm super pumped for that as well. So, yeah, we're all over the place, but I want to thank you guys all for coming on the show. It's great having you. Jake's been crushing it. It's been a really, really good time.
Appreciate that.
I'm kind of getting to that Tyrone Biggums thing where it's like, y'all got any more of them shows? So we might have to do like a post Super Bowl something, because it'll be hard for me to walk away from this. I got to figure something out. I'll do some. I'll talk to Joe off air, but we got to do something, because I can't just say goodbye to this like cold turkey. I got to wean myself off.
Hey, Joe, is there going to be like a halftime or Nuts and Bolts Twitter thread going during the game on Sunday?
During the game, yes. At halftime, I'm not competing against Eminem, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg.
Oh yeah, I was going to say
my
I
feelings
agree.
hurt with the total views of one, probably being my sister. She'll just push play just to say she watched it, even though she's dancing to Mary J. Blige. I'll pass on that. But yeah, I'll probably do it myself. Actually, I try to take ownership of that. When it's big events, college football national championship, NBA finals, things like that, there's a 95% chance I'll be the one controlling Twitter that day. So yeah, we'll definitely have an in-game thread, and everybody's more than welcome to chime in, join the conversation. It's always fun.
Yes, everyone, you're all invited. Listeners, viewers, people who heard third hand from their cousin, you're all invited. Hop onto our thread. It's going to be lit. Let's pay one more bill. Oh, or let Jeff speak first.
And don't forget our Twitter Spaces Tuesday nights.
Yeah, 7:15 on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
We go live with the latest topics in sports. That's starting to grow, something we want to build as well. Like I said, we're all over the place. We're everywhere.
And watch this important announcement. I want to thank all of you. I will start to make sure he doesn't get left out with Jake Ellenbogen. Thank you so much. You are invited to anything that I'm connected with forever, as long as you're available. So
I appreciate that. I have this one rule. If you bring me on any show or at least ask me, as long as I can make it work, I will try my damnedest to make it work. Okay. So I do not turn down shows at all. So just a matter of fitting them all into the schedule and everything. But I love coming on here. It's a lot of fun.
We love having you. George, thank you so much. One is it's good to have someone else who has I'll put it this way, a historical perspective also. Like I do. It's good to have that. It makes you feel a little less lonely when we start talking about Chuck Howley and how he got jobbed not being in the Hall of Fame. And now I have to, of course, thank Jeff for several reasons, not the least of which, right? He is my brother from another, but also we grind, right? The two of us spend way more time than we probably should digging in the prospects so we can drop those gems. And then the man that makes it all possible, Joe, thank you so very, very much. I appreciate all your hard work. I appreciate everything you do. And I am looking forward to everything we're going to bring forward because people are going to get what they expect and a little extra from Nuts and Bolts.
Thank you guys too, man. It's a good time. I really enjoyed myself.
Once again, it is a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege. Everyone, one, hydrate. That Super Bowl is going to take something out of you, especially that halftime show. So make sure, yep, right, there you go, right? Do your stretching, do your hydration, enjoy it because we only get one a year. And once again, this has been Bill Carroll with the Super Bowl 56 preview show from Nuts and Bolts.